Hey, what's going on, guys? Mariana5 here for Raise Your Edge, and I'm here again with Follow 86. And we have a hand that one of our students submitted in the Discord group for our live cash game course. So we'll get right into it here. It's a straddle pot. We start with $200, which is only 50 big blinds, so obviously a pretty shallow spot. So do you have any tips right away, Follow, as far as opening ranges at this stack depth?
Yeah, we should definitely raise mainly high card type hands. So definitely don't raise suited low suited connectors in under the gun. So 6-7, 5-3, 7-4 suited are definitely hands you want to mug in under the gun and MP. And yeah, raise more high card heavy hands where you just make a good top hand. You can go with your hand, because usually with those low suited connectors, you realize your equity most of the time on the river. And with just 50 big blinds, super often you're all in till the river. That's why we want to raise mainly high card type hands.
For sure. So yeah, ace jack obviously raising here, standard. Sizing's okay. I mean, I think anywhere between like 10 and basically like 2.5 to 3.5, 4x, whatever type of game you're playing in. Adjust to the sizings. And unknown aggressive player calls. Unknown fun player in the big blind calls. So 3-way to the flop. Gets checked to us. What do you think here?
Yeah, interesting spot. Don't mind having a checking range here, because we play three-handed. Of course, this board favors us a lot. We have all the strong hands here. Don't mind even checking a hand like ace jack with no diamond from time to time against two competent players when we raise in under the gun or something like this. But this is a different spot, because we see in the labeling that the big blind is an unknown fun player. So yeah, we know for sure that he is continuing with a lot of worse. Plus, it's pretty hard for our opponents to have us crushed here, because the unknown aggressive is definitely three-betting. Or I would assume that most aggressive players will three-bet most suited Broadway, so hands like King Jack suited, tens, ace queen, ace 10 suited, ace queen against a cut-off steal. So I feel pretty good about my hand, and there are so many draws and also pair plus draw type hands like Jack 10, Queen Jack, and Queen. Yeah, what do you think here about sizing? How big would you bet on this board texture?
I think anywhere between like a third to 50 or 60%. Yeah, because we're not necessarily, with our hand, we're not necessarily betting a super polarized range. So I think if we're going to start including hands like this, which are pretty strong but not super strong, we can definitely size down a little bit. So I think, yeah, maybe like half pot, third, half pot, maybe sometimes 2/3. I think if I had a hand like pocket tens, or if I flop a straight, I wouldn't mind going bigger, because then I'm unblocking all their calling range. But a hand like this, because we are blocking some top pairs and some straight draws, I don't mind just sizing down a little bit. And it's also not a super nutted hand where we want to be putting a ton of money in. So yeah, I think anywhere in that region should be fine.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
So he does go ahead and check, which is okay. I mean, it's okay to have these hands at some frequency, but as you said, with a fun player in the big blind, we can definitely start putting money in the pot, but not a big mistake here at all. It's nice to have some Jack X and some strong Ace X in our range. So turn comes out. Now the unknown aggressive player bets, let's see, about half pot here, a little over. Yep. So it's on us. What do you think here?
Yeah, pretty easy decision. I mean, when we think about the flop for a second, it is, of course, important to have a checking range, which includes some aces. So you should not all the time bet with like ace deuce and hearts and stuff. So definitely check those hands back with a high frequency, that you have enough hands that you can call. And yeah, when we check ace jack on the flop, I think this is a totally standard call on the turn. Yeah, interesting spot. What do you think about raising turn?
I don't think it's necessarily too bad, but I think calling at a much higher frequency is better. Because he did use like a bit of a bigger size. And if he led with like a really small sizing, like a third, I'd be kind of tempted to raise there, because I would just feel like we're going to be ahead so much. And then I don't mind just like charging, let's say he has a hand like, I don't know, king, queen, queen, jack, diamond draws. I don't mind necessarily just raising right away and getting value from those hands, because oftentimes they'll just bet and then give up on the river. Especially if he's a competent player, he shouldn't really be following through with some of those hands. So I don't mind raising small in those spots, but I think versus half pot, yeah, just calling definitely standard here. And he's going to have a lot of bluffs too, so we do allow him to keep bluffing if he wants to. So yeah, and of course he can still be ahead. He can still have like queen 10 suited, maybe some hands like ace 10 suited. Occasionally he could have been slow playing like an ace queen. We don't really know. So I think call standard.
Sure.
Yeah, threes exactly. So call standard. River's the 8, and now he decides to shove us all in, which is, yeah, I guess about 1.5 times the pot or more. So yeah, interesting spot. What do you think?
Yeah, range-wise, we have the perfect hand to call down because we unblock the straight, we unblock diamonds, we unblock clubs. And this is important because then he can have all the diamond hands, all the club hands, all the jack X, king X type hands.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty close. The only problem I see is that in this situation, people rarely over bluff shove river after they bet half pot on the turn on this type of board texture. We still can have a lot of ace X hands. So when we think our opponent is aggressive and we think he has some bluffs, then I think this should be always in our calling range. Or what do you think about this situation on the river?
Yeah, I definitely agree. As you said, like the blockers are really good. We also just have in the jack where we block king jack, we block jack 9. So we're blocking, and we also block with the ace. We're going to block hands like ace 10, maybe ace 8 suited. If you play it that way, yeah, ace 3 suited. So we got really good blockers as far as blocking his value, unblocking his draws. And then I totally agree with your point about, it really comes down to player tendencies. And if you think he's an aggressive player, I'd like to just call this early on when you're playing with him, especially if you think you're going to build some history, because if you find out that he's just bluffing here with who knows? Like sometimes guys will show up here with 6, 7 of hearts. You know what I mean? So if you get
really,
that,
nothing.
Yeah, if you get that info, then you can pretty much get at least a lot of future info on him that he could potentially be bluffing super wide here. So I think, as he said, yeah, good blockers. I think I would generally make the call versus someone I thought was fairly aggressive. If he was just an unknown in one of these games, I would probably just fold because, as you say, I don't think population is overbet bluffing river enough for us to be able to make the call here. Even though we're way up in our range, we have a really good bluff catcher. I think I'd want a bit more information. But even then, I don't think calling is going to be a mistake no matter what, really, because the games are trending to be more aggressive. I think people are seeing more stuff on TV. People are becoming more aggressive. I've been finding. So you don't want to be playing super nitty. But yeah, I think that's a pretty much a breakdown of it. Is kind of assess the type of player he is, and then if you think he's aggressive at all, then you just got to click the call here because he shouldn't have a ton of value hands,
Yeah, exactly. And when you think about it, it's really hard to ever have a stronger hand than ace jack.
Yeah.
So sure, ace 8 is possible.
Yeah.
But besides that, ace jack is definitely the better hand. And yeah, I really like to call river. Let's see what he did.
Yeah, he called, and unfortunately, pocket 8s. So, that happens, but that's also, that's a good sign, right? Because that shows this guy's bluffing way too wide on the turn. Like, he should never be betting that hand, right? So if he has pocket 8s here, what's going to stop him from having 6s, 7s, whatever, low suited connectors, like 10x? He can have so much shit, right? And if he's, I think he'll probably pull the trigger quite often on the river, because the thing is too, I think a lot of weaker players, they expect you to be really capped every time you check the flop. They think, okay, you can never have an ace. So they probably think we have a ton of hands like king, queen, pocket kings, jacks. So we appear to be pretty capped. Yeah, exactly. 10 jack. And they think if we had jack 9, we're going to bet the flop always too. So I think it's a spot where people can definitely put you on a really capped range and really get aggressive. So I think it's a well played hand. And I think he just got unlucky on the river. Obviously, he's got a ton of equity on the turn. So
yeah, I completely agree. And I think sometimes people see this as the only possible way to win the hand. They realize, when I bet half pot, he's probably calling again. So they just rip it and hope you fold. You also see this on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But only from aggressive players. Remember, when you don't know your opponent and you have a fairly weak hand here, like ace 4 and hearts, please go ahead and fold in general. Because, you have better hands to call on, like ace jack, for example.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, interesting hand. So, I think that was a good breakdown there. And try to keep that in mind at the tables. Don't necessarily be too scared to make the calls. In today's environment, people are getting a bit more aggressive, and take the info that you get and try to apply that in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, sounds good. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see ya. Bye.
Later.